Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Hall of Famer Bob Berry ruled Milwaukee's airwaves in the 60s and 70s. He spoke with countless musicians and celebrities over the years. Bob collected remarkable recordings of these encounters, which he's now sharing with the public. Here's Bob.
On the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941, we'll get an interesting story from a popular film star. This actor received an Oscar for his role in the film Charly in 1968.
The world's future, Mr. Gordon.
Brave new hates, brave new bombs, brave new wars, brave new hates, beautifully purposeless process of society suicide. Any more questions? I have a question. Charly Gordon.
Cliff Robertson's career spanned 6 decades. One of his memorable roles was his portrayal of John F. Kennedy in PT 109.
The young man I play is a fellow from Boston. His name, Lieutenant John F. Kennedy. His boat, PT 109.
He was in the Spider-Man trilogy, played astronaut Buzz Aldrin in Return to Earth. Cliff was an accomplished pilot and the founding chairman of the EAA Young Eagles program in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. It was the most successful aviation youth program in history.
Hi, Bob.
Hello, Cliff.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. I just got out of the shower. I'm sorry if I kept you waiting.
This is kind of early in the morning for you.
Well, not for me normally, no.
Is that right?
I get up around 6:30 when I'm working on a movie.
Well, you live in Hollywood, I would imagine, huh?
No. I live back on the East Coast.
Oh.
Live in New York. I can't quite make that Hollywood scene.
You can't?
No, I was born in a little town called La Jolla, down by San Diego, but I still have relatives there, but Hollywood is not really my town, although I do a lot of work there.
Yeah, we don't see you like a lot of the other stars in many of these movie magazines, socializing and things like that. You apparently don't go in for too much of that, then, huh?
No, I don't, Bob. It's I think in a way it's kind of old-fashioned. A lot of that movie magazine stuff. I'm sure they still have them. I've seen them on the newsstands, but I think the public generally. There's a very low credibility factor as far as a lot of that stuff. I think the public have grown up a little bit, too, don't you? I hope they have.
I think so. And obviously, looking at your record, it shows that you don't really need anything like this. We were just going down a list of some of your films. And in fact, it was just a couple of weeks ago they had PT 109 on television again.
Oh, is that right?
Cliff Robertson, of course, played President Kennedy in that in 1963. Was that a tough role for you to play?
Well, first of all, let me say I don't think I did a particularly good job in it. The reason I took it was that our President Kennedy chose me, and that was a very great honor, and I'll always cherish that honor. But I didn't think I did a particularly good job in it. It was not. The way it was written, it wasn't particularly difficult. No, it was, I tried to get inside the character like you do, and when you play a character that's alive and somebody whose profile is prominent as the president, where everybody feels they know him, you run a danger of trying to imitate him, and President Kennedy, we talked about it before I did it, and he suggested that I not try to imitate him, but just try to play it straight, because he felt, and I think rightly so, that, well, as he said, any good nightclub comic can do an imitation of me, Cliff, but he said, I don't want people to feel you're doing an imitation. He said, just get into the role as an individual, and the story should take care of the people's involvement. They'll get caught up in it, and after the first 5 minutes, they won't try to compare you. And I think generally that's true. I just wish he'd written the script.
Yeah, I guess Charly had to be the highlight of your career, though, huh?
Yeah, Charly, I think, probably was. It was a long, hard pull, because it took me 7 years to get it made. We couldn't convince some of the great pundits out in Hollywood that you could do a movie about a retarded man, and that people would come to see in the movie houses, and they kept feeling that nobody would come to see that kind of a story. And happily, the public proved them wrong, but it took a long time to get it made, and as a result, when it finally did get made, and all of its subsequent success, it was a very special kind of a victory for us, and therefore I guess you might say it was, although J.W. Coop was, I think I had even more personal satisfaction. It's not always how many awards you win. Sometimes it's something inside your own self that's satisfied or reasonably satisfied. And J.W. Coop was, I was wearing 4 hats in that one. I was a writer and director and actor and a producer too. But I think J.W. Coop and Charly were probably 2 of the better pictures I've been involved in.
It's a strange thing that happened to Cliff Robertson during the time of Pearl Harbor that a lot of people I bet don't know about. He was a 16-year-old seaman at the time of Pearl Harbor, and he was aboard a merchant ship in the Pacific. And the ship was bombed, and word got back to La Jolla, California, his hometown, that he was a casualty. That must have been something, huh?
Yeah, I was they tell me I was the first gold star in La Jolla, California, if that means anything.
and then they took it away.
And then they took my star away.
Thank God for that. Well, was that, what happened? Did you just walk into town? How did it...
I wasn't even 16. I had just graduated, and I was like all young men going through my Joseph Conrad, Richard Halliburton stage of my life where I wanted to get on a ship, and everybody said, gee, it doesn't look very good in the Far East. You shouldn't ship out on some old steamer out there where all the trouble is. Well, of course, you know, when you're very young, your attitude is nothing's going to happen to me, or certainly nothing's going to happen. And we went off, headed for the Philippines. It was interesting, though. I haven't really talked about this, but when they say that Pearl Harbor was such a great surprise, indeed it was, and it was a great tragedy for us. But it was interesting to me that when we got to Pearl Harbor, which was about 2 months before December the 7th, it was in September, we went ashore, and we had, as I remember, 48 hours ashore, supposedly, before we went on to the Philippines in this old Hog Island steamer. I hadn't been ashore more than 12 hours, and they rounded me up, and they rounded all the rest of the crew up, and said, you're going back on the ship, and the ship's leaving midnight. And by gum, we left midnight way sooner than we had expected to. We went on headed for the Far East, but we went in a very zigzag course, so it was evident now in retrospect to me that even though Pearl Harbor was a
surprise,
a day that lives in infamy and a sneak surprise attack, obviously there were elements in the probably in the naval circles that there was concern or possibly suspicion, because we went in a very zigzag course. We turned our lights off, and that was 2 months before Pearl Harbor.
Oh, that is strange.
Yeah, I don't know why
so
I
many
brought it up. I just haven't jarred my memory.
Right, I'll believe anything. Nowadays, you know, with all the things that are coming out, it's weird. We ran out of time. Thank you very much for talking with us.
Bob Berry.
Thank you for listening to Bob Berry's Unearthed Interviews. Be sure to subscribe and rate our podcast on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts. You can find all the episodes at WisconsinBroadcastingMuseum.org. Check out Bob Berry's book, Rock and Roll Radio Milwaukee. Book sale proceeds support Angels Kids Fund and Donate Life Wisconsin. The preceding program was made possible by a generous contribution from Terry Vaughn.